Okay, and then I'll just do one more example of how you can manipulate strings, and then we'll be done. And so this is kind of similar to the homework assignment. If you haven't looked in there, basically you just be writing two programs. One is to check a string whether that is a palindrome or not, right? Palindrome is a string of characters that can read both directions at the same meaning, or I guess same spelling, right? So like, I don't know. For example, ATA, right? You can read in either direction. It's the same spelling. That's a palindrome. Also means like what? Yeah, diagonal. Yeah, yes. So you get the idea. So how do you check that string is a palindrome? Okay, and again, I put in a note that you cannot use the built-in string method to do that, because you could do like reverse, and you compare, right? That's the quickest way to do that. So in other words, if you do like string s1 is equal to apple again. If you do string s2 is like ELPPA, right? How do you know they're something like that, right? So well, this is like, well, this doesn't help us much, but if I do like apple, let's just see. If I do that, right? If you do that, how do you check that's palindrome or not? So with the built-in function, it's really simple, because you can say string s2 is equal to string 1 dot reverse. Okay. Actually, I can't use this one. It has to be the new. Has to be the new string. If I have the value in there, and then how does it work? Oh, it must be a string buffer. Yeah, if you use a string buffer, I'm sorry. So the string buffer, you can actually reverse it, and you can compare the two values. That's too easy, so I don't want you to do that. So you need to check. Let's go back. Sorry, you need to check each of those characters. Okay, and then so how do you check the character? Well, you need to find out the position of each of those characters' position, right? So the index of A, and you compare that with the index of the last one here. Check if they're equal. If they are, then you keep moving in the opposite direction until those two pointers, they either overlap or they reach the end of that list, right? So usually you stop with the overlap, because by then you should know whether they are equal or not, right? So again, to check the first position, you usually create a counter, maybe called like start is at 0, and then or maybe not start, maybe like left, right? Left at 0, and then right at the end of that string, so the s length -1. Okay, it's a -1 because it's a zero-based language. So you want to say -1 to point to that last letter, in this case E, right? Otherwise you put a 5, and 5 is out of boundary, out of range. And then to check it, you just basically loop it, right? You loop it, and then you would increment the left and then decrement the right to see, and you check each position to see if they are equal or not. So you can then say You can use the while loop, you can use the for loop. It doesn't really matter. But in this case, since I'm using two counters, I would just probably use the while loop. I mean, either one will be fine. Okay, either one. So while what? I mean, what are you checking for? Right? So, and there are lots of ways. You can check when they overlap, or while you don't overlap, or you can just say something like Boolean, and then you call it done. Is set that to false, right? And then you can say while not done. So while it's still false, and then you can check it. That's one way to do it. And so now you can check it. So you can say if the position of the S1 dot character at, right? So the character at the index of I, or left. We'll check in the first one, the left one. If that is equal to the character of the right, if that is true, then what do? Right? If that is true, then you do nothing. You just move those two pointers. But it's not really useful because in this case, what if it's not true? What do? Right? So in this situation, since you don't do anything when it's true, then you want to say something like, wrap both of those and use the not, right? If they are not equal, like that, if you want, there are lots of ways. You can knock the whole thing out. I mean, this is one way. Another is you just change the operator, right? It's such to say if not equal, that's either way is fine. Okay, if they're equal, you not that, or you just say if they're not equal here, you don't have to use the not. If they're not equal, then it's done, right? It's no longer matched. You check the A and the E, it's not a palindrome because they're not equal. So therefore, when that's done, you can say done is now true, and then you're done. Because when you loop through that, it's going to check for the done. Is it true? It is true. Then you're done. You can also, yeah, so either done or the word here usually you could say is palindrome, right? And set that to true or false. But if they match, then it will skip that, and then just make sure you don't forget to increment to your left, and then you also want to decrement your right. Right? You're moving both of those directions. So what's another case? I mean, this way it's going to go all the way to the end of the string. And if you want to say when they overlap, you can stop there. Then you can also say in here, right? If the left is greater than the right, if that is true, that means they overlapped already. You can also say done. So either case, either when they don't match or when they overlap. By doing this way, you can't tell though. You can't tell whether it's a palindrome or not, because if they don't match, it just say I'm done. I can't know if it's a palindrome or not. How do you know when they are a palindrome?
Outside of the while, you could have some decisions checking state of Boolean.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's equal to true, you can say that it is true.
So, well, yeah, you could say if done is true. If you do that, well, the thing is that done doesn't tell us whether it's a palindrome or not in this case, right? So let's say if I check A and E, they fail, so therefore it's done is true. And when I exit out of that, if I say done is true, can I assume that it's a palindrome? You can't, right? Because in this case, like A is not equal to E, but then I said true. This only forces me to leave out the loop. It doesn't tell me whether it's palindrome or not. So, so then you have another one. Is palindrome, and usually, either way you do it, usually if you do it, usually you force this to be true. Okay, you make that so that you assume that the string is a palindrome. Because when you check all the way through and everything comes through, and then you will never change its value to false. So you would just say if it's a palindrome, it's true, then it is a palindrome. So here, when you check it down, it's true. And here you have to then set the is palindrome to false. Okay, this is the only case where it is not a palindrome. The done is just a counter. It's like a sentinel to quit the loop. Or you can say exit. That's also, or I mean break. That's also forcing a loop to quit. And but when you have the left and right, the overlap, I'm not changing the value of palindrome at all, so it would still be true. So that's fine. And then down here, you can say instead of done, you can say if it's palindrome. It's true, right? And it's a to the variable, so you don't have to check. You don't have to say equals true. You don't have to do that, right? It's redundant. You just say if it's palindrome. That's already understood. If that's the case, then you can say S1 is a palindrome. Oh, the plus sign. Right? Something like that. And if you run this, you'll see that, oh, did I do something incorrectly? Oh, I think I ran into a loop or something. Didn't work for me. Let's see, let's turn off the, let's turn these off. S1 at left, character L, the 0th position is equal to the right position. If that is true and if not, that is not true, then you're done. So let me just, it's confusing. Let me remove this. Let's remove this to just say not equal here. If not equal, then counter is false, and then I exit the loop, and then if this is true, to print that. Oh, if it's not true, I didn't have the else part, that's why. Okay, it was not true, right? So we need to print the is not. Because apple is not a palindrome. So it was correct before. I just did not put it. So it's not a palindrome. If you change that to alpha, then that should be a palindrome, right? Okay, remember when you test for it, it's case sensitive. So if you put like a big A and small a, You want to make sure that you actually convert it to lowercase or all uppercase before you test, otherwise it will be false. Okay? So just convert to all uppercase or all lowercase before you do the comparison.